last class we have discussed about some of the rules which we have to follow while capitalizing letters in particular sentence or particular word. So we'll be continuing with that, and we'll be having some new rules, and we'll also talk, have some hands-on practice session where we'll come up with new sentences and see how exactly it would be applicable. So the first rule which we have discussed in the last class is first words of a sentence. So the first letters of any sentence in the first word, we have to capitalize the first letter. So for example, here when he tells a joke, he sometimes forgets the punchline. So the first word in a sentence, where the first letter has to be capitalized. So regardless of whatever the sentence is, whichever the sentence is, so the first letter has to be capitalized as per the English rule. So it has been practiced and it is still being practiced also. So this is very common one, which almost everybody knows it. So the second one is the pronoun I. So I has a special place in almost all the alphabet compared with the other alphabets, because I is a pronoun here. So the reason that is why I has a special rule. It has, whenever I comes in as a pronoun in any sentence, it has to be capitalized. That is the second rule. And the other rule which we have discussed here is so the third rule which we have discussed is the proper nouns. So what are proper nouns? So proper nouns are actually the names of any specific individuals or specific locations, or maybe specific people or specific things. For example, the name here Voril Fabrication Company. So it is the name of the company name. So the first letter of each of the word will be capitalized. So the one which have been highlighted in red in color, so they are actually, they indicate that the first letter has to be capitalized. Same goes with any name also. For example, Surya Teja, which means Surya and Teja. So the first letter of the word, which is Surya, S and T, has to be capitalized. So they are all proper nouns. And there are other kind of nouns which are called as common nouns. Even though common nouns are also the names, but they are not very specific like proper names. For example, if I say people in India, India becomes a proper noun. So I has to be capitalized. If I say people in this country, country is not a proper noun. Country is a common noun. It is used in general. So it is not a specific user. We are not specifically talking about that particular country. So we are using it as a common name. So those are common names. For common names, we need not have to be capitalize them unless until we use them in a very specific context. So proper nouns have to be capitalized. Here, if you see some of the examples like Voril Fabrication Company, WF and C have been capitalized. And if you see Golden Gate Bridge, so G has been capitalized here, under G and bridge. And same goes with Supreme Court. S is the starting letter, it has been capitalized, and Court C is capitalized. And Livingstone and Missouri, the capital and the state has been capitalized here. Atlantic Ocean, it is also a name. Ocean is not, even though ocean is a common noun, but here in this specific, in this particular context, Atlantic Ocean is a name. We cannot say Atlantic, we'll say Atlantic Ocean. Sorry. So Atlantic Ocean becomes a proper noun. So the reason that is why we have capitalized the A in this word and O in this word. In case if we generally say ocean or water in the ocean or fishes in the ocean, then in that case ocean need not, the first letter of the ocean need not have to be capitalized. So O can remain small letter. But here in this case, it is acting as a proper noun. That is the reason we have capitalized here. And if you see here, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So it is an organization. It is the name of an organization. So it becomes capital proper noun. So that is the reason we have capitalized. And this is the abbreviation. So I'll talk about this abbreviation in specific in the coming slides. I'll move on to the next one. So we'll do some little practice here. So if you see here, NASA is an organization. It is an acronym of the Space Administration in the US. So here if you see NASA, what exactly it stands for? It stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So this is what the name is. So if you see in the whole name, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, N has been capitalized because it is a starting letter of the word. A has been capitalized, S has been capitalized, and another A administration has been capitalized. So the starting letters of the words will become an acronym, which is basically the abbreviation, and has not been capitalized. So whenever we have a preposition, whenever we have a conjunction, they need not have to be capitalized. They'll remain as it is. Only the specific name or the important name or the specific elements, those things have to be capitalized, the proper nouns. Here and conjunctions and preposition usually talk about the association, so they cannot become a proper noun. So that is the reason why we are not capitalizing the starting letters of the particular elements. But here, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, they have to be capitalized. And if we go with the second example, which is CCMB, which is Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. So same as we discussed here also, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology is an organization which is specifically focused on biological studies or something specifically related to it. So if you see here, center, in the center C has been capitalized, cellular C has been capitalized, molecular and biology, as we discussed, for and have not been capitalized because they are not the proper nouns. They are talking about the association or the relation between them. So the prepositions and conjunctions cannot be capitalized here. If I move to the next one, National NIN, which is National Institute of Nutrition. So here also in this case, as we discussed, preposition has been not capitalized, and the organization name, which is National Institute of Nutrition. So the starting letters of the words will become an acronym or the abbreviation. Same goes with this one also, ICRISAT, which is International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics. So this is the name of the organization, which is International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics. So the starting letters of the words have become the acronym, and as we discussed, other conjunctions and other prepositions are not capitalized here. So this is how we should practice when we go with any particular names or organization names, any location names, any person names. So if it is a proper noun, definitely they have to be capitalized, the starting letters. But if in case it is a common noun like location or countries, oceans, or states, if we use in general, not specific to a particular thing, if we use in general, they can be excluded from capitalization. So this is the thing, and this is UK, United Kingdom. So it has been capitalized here. So these are some of the examples. So there are certain other things also related to these acronyms, and there are certain other things like initialisms, which are similar to acronyms, but they are slightly different. So I'll talk about them in the coming slides. So does anyone have any doubts up until now? So, okay, then we'll move to the next one. So as I said, acronyms and initialisms. So sometimes we might get confused with acronym and initialisms because most of the rules remains the same, but only the specific pronunciation, the specific usage will differ actually. So if you see here, acronym is nothing but it is an abbreviation which is formed by taking the starting letters of the words, like we have discussed for in case of CCMB, ICRISAT or NIN likewise. So there are certain other things like for example, even scuba. Scuba is not actually a normal word. Scuba is it is an abbreviation. So, but in general, scuba people use it in a small case letter, but actually scuba has to be capitalized because it is an acronym of. One second, I'll just see the name. Yeah. So it is actually an acronym of self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. So if I write here, called as self-contained. Breathing apparatus. So this is what exactly the scuba means. So, but people use in small letters where they just simply they'll write scuba and laser in the regular common modern day English. It is accepted, but when we write in any formal papers, like where in a formal sessions where we go with our documents, where we go with a white paper, where we are publishing something, we definitely have to be capitalized such things. We cannot use it in general because they are actually the acronyms. So they definitely have to be in the capital letters. And the first letters of this abbreviation full form also have to be capitalized here. So this is what it is, and same goes with laser. People also use laser in as a normal thing, but even it also is an abbreviation. So it has to be capitalized when we write in abbreviation form. Even when we express it in full form, we have to make sure that the first letters of the word have been capitalized. So in case of laser, it would be light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So as we discussed, laser light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So except conjunctions and prepositions, every other letter of the capital or the words have been capitalized here. So this becomes the acronyms. In case of initialisms, so initialisms are also similar to acronyms, but the only major change is that they are pronounced in a different way. Say for example, if you see here, even IPL is one such example. IPL is also an acronym because it is taken from the first letter of the different words. For example, IPL, Indian Premier League, we have taken IPL, the starting letters of the words, and we have expressed it as IPL. Same goes with PKL, Pro Kabaddi League, or LOL or IDK, which is Laugh Out Loud, or I don't know, which is used in common English. But these are not exactly the proper English. Even though they have become famous in the recent times, especially in the social media after the rise of social media. But in general, they are not the proper English words. But in case of difference between acronym and initialism is, if you see scuba and laser, we are just pronouncing it as a normal English word. Say for example, occasionally, the letters have a structure, and we are pronouncing as depending upon the structure of the letters, how exactly they're placed. We are saying it as occasionally, and acronym becomes. We are not saying OCC, ASIONL. We are just pronouncing it as a normal word. So acronyms are similar to that. They are simply pronounced as scuba, laser. We don't say SUABA. But in case of initialisms, we say IPL. We do not say pickle, lol. We say IPL, PKL, LOL. So these are the difference between acronyms and initialisms. So their usage is, the kind of extraction of abbreviation is similar, but the pronunciation is different. So that is the common difference between acronyms and initialisms. So does anyone have any doubts on this thing?
So the differentiation between acronyms and initialisms is like based on how someone set it. It's like that because both are like we are using the first letters, but here we are like pronouncing letter by letter, and there we are pronouncing it together. That's the only difference. Or how do we decide something is an acronym first? Like is it like the first person who does it?
Right. Right. So basically, it is basically the context in which the person uses. So everything is normal, just the pronunciation. It starts from the originating factor. Actually, the one who originates it, they usually start it. So basically, these are more informal, like for example, the scuba, laser. These are properly the English words. For example, the normal English words which I have said, like in case of CCMB, NAN, Center, Cellular, Molecular, these are English words. But when in this case, Indian Premier League. So basically, any word which is not properly English but which can be created by a person, or in case a normal name created with some of the English words and the normal words, they are usually called as initialism. So for example, Indian Premier League, it is not something very, it is not an English word properly. Even though Indian and Premier League is common, it has been created by them. Where in case of other things, they are very much formal in nature. And the primary difference, I think, in my understanding, is the person who originates it. From there, it starts by calling IPL or PKL leagues. This thing. In case of formal usage, acronyms are used. In case of informal things, initialisms are used. That is the difference in that way.
Okay.
Actually, see, let's suppose an example, Florida and Miami have some of the best scuba diving sites in the world.
Okay.
How to write that scuba diving sites in the world? So we have to write it in small letters, or have to mention that in capital letter?
Scuba has to be written in capital letters actually. Scuba in proper English. But people use in scuba laser informal usually when they are with their friends, in case they are chatting with them, or usually in an informal way. But the formal usage of scuba and laser have to be capitalized, because anything which is acronym, which is extracted from a definition of a word, if the starting letters have been extracted, it has to be capitalized. But these things are usually, scuba is something which is not very formal. People usually talk with their friends. It has become a common practice, because when we chat, we just write in small letters. We don't see capital this thing. We don't follow that much rules. So that way it has been highlighted as scuba in small letters. Usually it has been capitalized.
So that is why Surya has mentioned that word. It evolves into an ordinary word. The definition, if you see, because over time, when people have been using the word in a particular way, then that is considered as acceptable. That's it.
Right. Same goes with LOL and IDK. So these are not all English words actually. These have been created in an informal usage. So, but over a period when people continuously use it, it becomes a practice in English. So nowadays we see LOL and IDK in almost all the social media platforms, in Instagram or in WhatsApp or this thing. And soon, after a period of time, they get added in dictionaries also. We have seen certain things like Papad or something, they're getting added in Oxford Dictionary. So once they become formalized, after common acceptance from the people, it might get added as a normal English word in this way. So these are what this is what acronyms and initialisms is about, and we'll see some common title abbreviations, and I'll talk about certain other things while capitalizing things, how exactly the abbreviation has to be expressed. So if we see here Mr., which we are usually we would have seen this in almost regular English usage, which is Mr. So whenever, if you see the Mr., it is not an acronym. It has been extracted from the first letter and the last letter of the word, and there is a full stop here. So whenever there is a compression of the word to a small, to a basic, usually we don't want to write it, we don't want to make things very long and this thing. We just want to convey the meaning within short, within limited usage of letters. So when we are compressing the original letter into this original word into the small form, there has to be a full stop. It gives the indication to the other person or the reader that this is not an abbreviation, or this is not something. This is generally the basic English word, which is Mr. It has been compressed to a normal, in a small form. Same goes with mistress. So even this thing also, if you see, the first letter and the last letter have been taken, and the full stop is been put because it gives an indication to the reader that this is not an abbreviation. This is just a short form of the word mistress or Mr. These are actually commonly accepted in English, in British English as well as in American English. Same goes for DR, which is doctor, which is senior. For JR, it is junior, miss. So these are actually the common title abbreviations. There are certain other elements, so many other examples also, but these are some of the common things. So whenever we extract the first letter and last letter of the new word, which is not an abbreviation, so it becomes a common title. So we have to put a full stop to indicate that this is the English word, short form of that particular English word. So it is an indication there. And there are certain other rules also when it comes to using a full stop or not, that I'll talk about here. So British English and American English are actually a bit different here. So British English actually prefers to omit the full stop when abbreviating things. So for example, if there was an example which I talked like UK or US. So when we write UK or US, when we are actually conversing with a person from the British from London, we usually have to prefer writing UK in this form. There should be a full stop after U and K. Well, in case of American English, in case of British English, they actually prefer omitting the full stop. They simply say UK or they simply say USA. So they prefer not to add full stop. They simply use it in this way. But in case of American English, they prefer to use full stop. So for example, here in this case, it becomes U. Okay. So this is how British English and American English differs. But actually, in present day, in modern day English, what has been the practice is, even in case of British English, even in case of American English, we can simply eliminate the full stops. We can simply say UK, USA without adding a full stop. But when in case we use small letters, like for example A.M, usually we write AM in this way. So in case if we are capitalizing the words AM, there is need not to be any addition of full stop. But when we write AM or PM or something like that in small letters, definitely there has to be a full stop, which is now practice, which has become a common practice in British as well as American English. So when we are expressing them in capital letters, there is no need of adding full stop there. But in case we are writing them in small letters, so in a formal usage, there has to be a full stop. So when we are writing a mail or when we are setting up a meeting, in this case, depending upon the person, the client, which place are they originating from, we have to make you change them accordingly to whether to use full stop or not. So even if you see EG here, so which is actually a Latin word. EG means exempli gratia, which is called as example. In English we call it as example. In Latin word it is called as exempli gratia. So if you see here, I have put a full stop next to it, E and G, because there is a small letter and the capital letter. And there is one more important rule. Suppose in case you are writing in UK or USA, the consistency has to be common. So for example, if you say US and UK are friends, if you say US and UK are friends, this becomes a very perfect proper usage of English or proper usage of rules. But in case if you say US and UK in this way, then it becomes very inconsistent. Or in case if you say normal, if you use small u and small k also, it becomes inconsistent. So whenever we are writing a sentence, whatever the rule we maintain, there has to be a consistency in this. So if you use capital letters US, and then in case of other country, you have to use UK in that way, whenever you are expressing them in the short forms. So this consistency has to be followed. This is one of the important rule in this thing. So as I said, for small letter abbreviations, it is preferred to use a full stop here, and while we are abbreviating them. So does anyone have any doubts in this particular rules?
So how about names, Surya? Like we have this initial node, like after initial we'll put full stop, then we'll write the names. So in the case like that, we are supposed to put full stops.
So usually people have their surnames and like for example their surname or their name. Usually people have surname as their house name or their father's name. Say for example, if I use an example, Sarvesh Ankit Tiwari. Suppose this is the name, Sarvesh Ankit Tiwari. Ankit Tiwari is the name. Sarvesh is the person name. We does not have to. There is no need of adding a full stop in the here. Only in case if we say yes Ankit, then only we are actually saying yes Ankit theory. So S dot full stop is actually giving an indication to the reader that S is actually a short form. S has a name. So it in common English practice it is conveying the basic meaning that it is actually a word. The person has made it short form. It is a surname. So when we are writing it as in a full form, there is no need of adding a full stop in surname. Usually people add full stop in their schools and this thing, but it is actually not a right practice. Even when we write a bank forms or some other application form, there won't be any full stop actually. From the word to word, there would only be a space. So there is no need of full stop here. Only when you are writing it in short form, then there is a need of putting a full stop there. So yes, Ankit theory like that in this way. So does that answer your question, Jairam?
Yes, Surya.